Welcome to our final episode of Spartan Chatter that is in partnership with Simon and Schuster and their ongoing Audiobook of the Month Club. This is our fifth one? I don't know, I can't count. But fifth. This has been a lot of fun. It's been a really great walkthrough. A lot of the Halo books, some are older, some are newer. But we're ending on a really great one, and this is by Kelly Gay, and it is Halo, the Rubicon Protocol. And as always, I'm Sam. I'm on the community team. You might know me as Snickerdoodle. And I am joined by the one and only Alex Wakeford.
Hello there. Yeah, Alex Wakeford, franchise writer at Halo Studios. You may have seen me on the community stage at the Halo World Championship last week as we did some really cool panels and reveals and announcements of future books and things like that. But here we're, looking to look back a couple of years at, actually, this was the first book that I was ever involved in directly myself. So this was kind of a big one for me.
I love that you just dropped that little flex in there. Oh, I worked on this one, right? No big deal. I worked on Kelly Gay's Rubicon Protocol. What was that like? What was that like for you? Like, what was that whole process?
Cool. I mean, I came in towards the end of it as we were sort of closing down some parts of the book, but there were still a lot of things that we were trying to figure out, and I'm sure that we'll get to some of the specific details of that as we go. But I had a fantastic time working on this. I remember Jeremy Patnad, who published Halo Empty Throne earlier this year. We were going through the campaign map and comparing notes so that we would make sure that every bit of the journey in these areas from Halo Infinite's campaign lined up with the journey of the characters in the book and things like that. So just
someone noticed that too, right? Someone in the
detail, yeah.
Someone in the community noticed. I remember that
He did a great job putting those videos together, and honestly, when we saw those, we were like, "Oh my gosh!" It paid off.
Not really an Easter egg, but just a kind of cool attention to detail. Like, oh my God, they noticed, they did the thing. They noticed we did the thing. Love that.
We would be looking at so is there an extra door here where the characters could go through and it would lead them somewhere else? So it kind of takes them off the path in the campaign, and there's other areas to go. That was a long and fun process because we're just going around the campaign, running around separately, just all right, where could we go? What could we do here?
That's a super fun use of, just the open world aspect of the Halo Infinite campaign, where you can literally go explore and literally create a story based off of what you see, which I think is really neat. And I don't think you get to see that a lot. So, but speaking of Infinite's story, that might be a good place to segue a little bit into what Halo the Rubicon Protocol is. It is a story that basically bridges the time, right? A little bit. It takes place before, after, during? Where does this take place?
So this begins December 2559 as the UNSC Infinity goes to Zeta Halo and is ambushed by the Banished, as we see in that opening cinematic in the game. Obviously, the Infinity is taken out by the Banished in their ambush, and the UNSC forces are scrambling to get to the ring's surface. And obviously, we follow from the Master Chief's point of view because he gets taken out by Atriox and awakens 6 months later in the aftermath of everything that's happened. So Halo Infinite's campaign is about, discovering what's happened while you've been gone. And the Rubicon Protocol is the story very much of what's happened with the UNSC in this local area of the ring that you get to explore.
Imagine waking up from a 6-month-long nap to find out that everything has fallen apart. This is the mess you wake up to. Kind of that gif of the guy walking into a room with pizzas and everything's on fire. That's kind of how I feel like Master Chief probably was when he woke up from this. 100%. And just, what is happening here? I don't even know that I would know what to do. I'd probably just stand there and just, how did this happen? Community season 3, episode 4. I did not know it was from Community. Is that not?
It's great for the Chief because he wakes up and it's basically Atriox's birthday, and he just runs over the Banished over the course of, hours, days, and really just dismantles a lot of their operation, kills a bunch of their leaders. So, we really could have used the Chief those 6 months ago.
Happy birthday, Atriox. Happy birthday to the big man. So, all right. So we know the Infinity is having a bad time. Lasky is still around, right? Which is, carryover
He's
from
just given the order for everyone to abandon ship.
peace out, go away, save yourselves, SOS, all the things. So yeah, let's go from there. I'll let you take it away from there. I'm looking at your notes, and you're basically just giving us the rundown on all the people we see. I think we should make sure we need to get to Spartan Kovan before somebody in chat dips out.
Of course. Well, so various bits and pieces of this story were told in the audio logs that you can find in Infinite's campaign, which was really cool. They tell the story of like different UNSC and banished characters, and a lot of those are of like great importance in this book. We actually get to see a lot more of them. So as the book starts, Infinity is under attack. Lasky's given the order to evacuate, and we follow some interesting members of the crew who you may recognize from previous fiction, from quite obscure corners actually, which is what Kelly's always amazing at, is really just pulling these characters from the most unexpected places. So yeah, we've got Lieutenant T.J. Murphy. He's a character that you rescue in Spartan Ops, like just a random mission partway through, and he kind of helps out Fireteam Crimson throughout several subsequent missions, which was really cool.
So
there's also
so that means Kelly actually played through Spartan Ops at some point.
Oh yeah,
which is really fun. If you haven't played Spartan Ops, shout out, because it is actually a really fun little story addendums to everything happening. So, but yeah,
missions.
Yeah, it's a lot, especially if you try to lasso them.
It's a lot is definitely an apt description.
But yeah, shout out Spartan Ops, shout out to Kelly for playing them, and shout out to TJ Murphy, Lieutenant TJ Murphy.
Yeah, cool character. And there are also several members of Fireteam Shadow who also appeared in Spartan Ops in, one of my favorite named missions, which is a two-parter, right? The first part, they don't appear in it. It's called Nothing Can Go Wrong. And the second part, which they do appear in, is called Everything Has Gone Wrong, which is just absolutely peak mission naming as far as I'm concerned.
Naming one Nothing Can Go Wrong is just inviting the fact that everything can go wrong.
Oh, yes, 100%. So
absolutely foreshadowing.
What they do in that mission is they board a Covenant ship that is kind of over the area. And we actually did our very first Waypoint Chronicle on that story, because you obviously don't see that from Fireteam Shadow's point of view. They're on the radio to Fireteam Crimson, kind of giving you updates as they go along. So that was pretty cool when we did Halo 4's 10th anniversary and we did our first Waypoint Chronicle. We didn't know what Waypoint Chronicles were going to be back then. We sort of hoped, but that was really enjoyed by people. But the thing about Fireteam Shadow, right, is they weren't actually introduced in Spartan Ops. They go even further back to something even more obscure, which is when Halo 4 had its big E3, 2012 launch and everything. It had a website, and on this website were 10 minutes of background audio that you could pull and listen to. And in that, Fireteam Shadow is referenced. So that is kind of the origin of where those characters really came from, which was just insane.
Chat is saying that Alex is talking about obscure lore and everything is right in the world. Yeah.
Yes.
CIA knows this off the top of his head. Yeah. Oh, Alex does too. That's the crazy thing. I could ask him, hey, where did this little obscure factoid come from? And he will literally tell me the episode and page of whatever comic book it was in. It's bonkers. I love it.
So, of course, two members of Fireteam Shadow, and obviously this is where we want to make our shout out, isn't it? We've got Benita Stone and Nina Kavan, who are they're two of the main kind of characters that we follow as part of the boat crew, as they come to be known.
Shout out to Nina, who is sitting in chat right now, the inspiration for the name and for the character. So we love Nina. If you were at Worlds, you may have met her last week. Was it already last week? Only last week? I don't know anymore. But yeah, I just thought that was fun little fact in there. So
Nina makes everything we do better.
Nina is the only reason we function as a team, I'm pretty sure. So Nina
I would say.
Nina is amazing, and we love her, and we love to see her enshrined in a book, especially as Miss Kovan.
It was a super awesome character, and she's alongside Spartan Benita Stone as well, who, as you know, is found dead toward the end of Halo Infinite's second mission in the campaign. So there's a bit of that from the beginning. You know the end to this story, right? You know that a lot of people are probably not going to make it through this one. And then another character who is from similarly obscure origins is Isaiah Cameron, who is... You're going to be baffled by this, Sam. You know, in E3 2012, the commissioning live-action trailer that they showed before the Halo 4 demo?
Yes. Also, do you know how long ago 2012 was?
I do, yeah.
Okay.
13 and a half years ago.
Just checking.
Like what we're talking here, which is crazy. I still remember watching that at home in the middle of my exams while I was still at school.
Yeah, me too. But yes, I do remember that one.
But Isaiah Cameron is a guy who you see for maybe 1 or 2 seconds in that trailer. Is it just like, you know, he's got his name on his uniform, and he is one of the characters who is in this because he's part of the UNSC Infinity crew, right? It makes sense that you follow these people because we've established, hey, these are named characters who are aboard the UNSC Infinity. Let's use some of them. so Kelly is a...
Wow, that is incredible. Yeah. So, I mean, she watched it, caught the name tape, and was like, that guy. I'm using that guy. That's the guy. That is incredible. I don't want to say she's better than you at pulling out obscure things because you've probably helped make a lot of this happen, but that is actually incredible, and I think that is
gives us all a run for our money. 100%.
I think it also just goes to show, like, the level of respect and, like, interest she has in Halo, right? Because how easy would it be just to create new people that you've never heard of or anything and just, like, write something and be like, this is good enough. But instead she takes the time to go through Play Spartan Ops, take note of who she's seeing, names and stuff, names she's seeing for 2 seconds in a trailer from 13 years ago. Pretty intense, but also I think pretty neat, and speaks to her character and love for the franchise, in my opinion. And
that's really, like, for my first experience coming into the novels, seeing that passion, you know, not just that Kelly has, but every author and partner that we work with. Like, we had Ed Schlesinger out at Halo WC, and we finally got to, you know, really sort of talk about how he's been involved in the you know, managing editorial process for creating these novels. He, like, is so knowledgeable about Halo. You got to imagine he's working on like a dozen different novels at a time. He comes in and he knows everything as well. So every author, every creative partner we've got is so invested in this series and this franchise. It just makes it a joy to work with so many creatives who, you know, have that same kind of shared brain trust and passion that you know, you hope is reflected in the work and in your own contributions.
There are people in chat who were at Worlds watching the Cannon Fodder panel, or I think that's when it was, but they are lauding Ed for his great work during the Cannon Fodder panel and how nerdy he was getting when he was allowed to, you know, get into those things. And I think that's just so super fun, right? Because it's not just us; it's everybody. Stuff can be good. Somebody also said too many familiar faces and the universe starts feeling really small, and I think that's fair. I think that's totally fair. I think that is a really great point, but I also think, you know, pulling small little threads like that and just like tying it together in the greater tapestry is super neat. And
yeah,
it's a skill.
Run the risk of oversaturation when you use too many familiar characters. I think what helps this is that these are essentially nobodies, a lot of whom are here ultimately to kick the bucket and die. It's almost like, you know, you've got the named red shirts here who are here to serve their purpose and actually get you attached to them as people.
I can't believe you went there. Poor guys. RIP in pieces. So, all right, let's get back to Rubicon Protocol, because I think we could nerd out on things like that all day, and we usually do. So where are we at? We've set the stage. We've met all these obscure characters that Kelly has brought back, and we already know, if you have played the game, that a lot of them don't make it. You find them around in the campaign. You find their audio logs. So we're so, I mean, how do I put this? You're so used to a Spartan being super soldier, wins everything all the time. But in this one, it's kind of, it feels more like a battle, right? Like you're fighting through things. It is not exactly going your way all the time. Nothing is easy and nothing is given, right?
100%. And yeah, that's kind of the tone of this book. All up is it's dark. It's got the grit, the grime, the blood and guts of warfare and Halo. And we really thought that this was a good opportunity to bring more kind of gravitas to the Spartan Fours, and the sort of the sacrifices that they have to make to keep the UNSC going, to keep them surviving. You know, just one more day as the Banished really close their grip on this area of Zeta Halo, and that's something that the Spartan Fours, you know, candidly haven't really had up to this point. You know, other generations, the Spartan Twos were introduced with the fall of Reach, the Spartan Threes with Operation Torpedo as they're dying in their hundreds. It really gives this sense of like, oh wow, this is what these soldiers are up against. And perhaps the frat boy reputation that really stuck with Fireteam Majestic in their community outreach is something that has kind of not gone away and has, you know, really required us to re-examine like what is a Spartan, what makes these people tick, what is it that goes into a super soldier. So bringing them down a peg in this book was actually really fun. I remember some really great conversations we had where we're thinking about Spartans almost like race cars, right? You have a whole team of people, an array of like tools and technology that's dedicated to the maintenance of a vehicle. In this case, it's the Mjolnir armor that allows them to operate at like absolute peak efficiency, but for a short amount of time. So what happens when, you know, those people who maintain you as a killing machine are scattered or dead, or when the technology to even take your armor off is limited or lost? And, you know, we were inspired, I think, by some bits in Ghosts of Onyx where Tom, during the Battle of Pegasi Delta at the start of the book, he remembers Kurt telling the Spartan Threes, don't be reliant on technology. Machines are easy to break. And, you know, other stories like Halo Nightfall have really delved into the theme of, you know, is it the soldier, is it the person or the technology that makes them? So that really was an important part of this story. And as this battle progresses over weeks and months, the Spartan's armor starts breaking down, and it adds this whole new kind of level of tension, because they're here to protect, you know, most of the characters who we follow are ordinary human beings, not all of whom are even Marines. Among the boat crew, you've got Gavin Joe and Eric Bender. They're the mortuary specialist and the barber aboard the UNSC Infinity.
You never think about there being a barber on those things, by the way, right? People's hair just stays cut magically.
So they're living essentially on a whole other threat level compared to what everyone else is on. So that layering, I think, of the tension and the conflict is just part of what makes this book really sing from how Kelly wrote it.
You brought up the part about, you know, the armor and, you know, it just stops functioning or whatever. There's a couple of good points in chat that I think are worth bringing up. Eternal Canadian brings up the fact that, you know, Mjolnir armor can suffer, you know, if you're not... It just isn't always a good thing, right? It can also be a curse in some ways, because if it starts to break down or something like that, you're kind of stuck. And someone else brought up, they were like, you know, the Banished weren't exactly nice to captured Spartans, and it kind of reinforces like the brutality, right? Of
100%.
Halo isn't necessarily all light and, you know, butterflies and kittens, but it can be, there is like a dark side to it. And I think the Banished really drive that home.
By the same token, we have some whimsy and silliness in this book as well, which I was really happy.
Well, I mean, yeah, you have your mortuary specialist and your barber. What? Where did they come from? Right?
But let me tell you about Spartan Tomas Horvath and the banished Bloodstar Gorian, who are trapped together on an island fragment after the ring's been fractured, right? And I remember as we were working on this book, I was putting together the timeline for some of these events. And I pointed out that, we can place this on Christmas and add a bit of levity and kind of that whimsy that to what is essentially one of like the main sort of antagonistic arcs in the story. And Kelly really took that and weaved it into such like a brilliant and memorable scene where they essentially they have to spend Christmas together, the Spartan and the Spartan killer, essentially. I think it's important to have some of those moments of like comic relief and levity because Halo is dark. Absolutely, and especially in this book, you really get that. But I think the way we put it is that it's an ingredient rather than the whole recipe. And leaning into things like the grunts, humor, Glibnub's propaganda towers, and that it just makes for what feels like a more rounded story if you have some of those lighter moments as well.
Yeah, definitely humor or something more lighthearted or even more mundane can definitely break up the horrors or just the depths of like all the things that's going on. Having that little break of normalcy can really just be like, oh yeah, this is what's going on. But speaking of propaganda towers, random fun fact, one of the cosplayers is looking to create one as a prop. They want to create a full 10 or 12 foot tall propaganda tower, so I can't wait to see how that goes out.
Good luck to them.
I'm so excited because they want to record all the voice lines and everything. So I think it would actually be hilarious. So, but yes,
we get one set up in every city across the world.
Just have one. Yeah, exactly. Well, I think that's the goal, Elliot, is to bring it to Halo Fest. So that could be kind of funny. But awesome. But yeah, no, having that on Christmas is just happy birthday, Atriox, and Merry Christmas to me because we're stuck on this little island and I'm stuck with you. But yeah, and Horvath is the Spartan on the cover of the book, correct?
Yes.
Cool. In case you didn't know. Just reaffirming that for those.
Character who was in the audio logs as well from Halo Infinite. So he's a guy who we follow through that. And also, like, you know, since we're on the subject of darkness and seeing how bad it gets for the UNSC survivors,
everybody's favorite.
Yeah, we have the Mortal Reverie, the wreckage of that ship, which is obviously like a pretty major base of operations in Halo Infinite, where it's taken over by the Banished. It becomes Outpost Tremonius, and then the Chief takes it back. And you actually see the battle that happens there in this book, which I remember we described as being like, what if it was the Battle of Helm's Deep from the Two Towers, but Gandalf doesn't show up at the end with the Rohirrim to win the day. And this is where we kind of get into a lot of the stuff with Lucas Browning, who is a combat medic and a very interesting character because he has some connections to the Harbinger, who the Banished release from her Silex on the ring. Browning makes this decision when the ship has fallen that he's going to kind of bait and distract the Banished forces after Spartan Kavan's armor sort of locks up while the boat crew are hiding. So they see the Spartan's armor kind of betraying them almost in that moment. And as a result, Lucas Browning gets captured and he moves through the Banished prison system, where we get to see some of the places that we later take down as the Chief, like the Redoubt of Sundering, Chaklock's Tower, and all manner of wonderful, horrible, torturous things are being inflicted on the prisoners.
I don't know that wonderful would have been in my list of adjectives, but you do you.
Yeah, it's quite... I mean, if you enjoy reading that kind of thing, then you're thinking, oh, yeah, Halo so rarely goes to this kind of place. And I think that's certainly a reaction that we saw when this book released, is like, oh, they're really kind of going into some of the dark stuff here.
Which is interesting because people insist that Halo isn't, right? And then you get to this and it's like, well, are you sure about that? Because this doesn't seem very happy-go-lucky, you know?
Yeah, it's interesting. As we say, it's an ingredient and not the recipe, right? When there are times where you can lean into it more, and I think people really enjoy when that happens, but they enjoy it because it's a taste rather than the whole meal. I think you can definitely go overboard with it, and Halo, as with any franchise, can lean into so many different like tones and themes that's really the advantage you have of 25 years of history and so many different stories and creators who have all kind of put their own vision and spin on a series like this.
I think, yeah, for sure. I think the ingredient analogy is actually perfect because too much of a good thing, right? You can like sweets, you can like cookies or cake, but too much of it makes you sick, right? So
Exactly.
definitely, and somebody says the book felt nicely balanced with the darker aspects and lighter stuff, and I think that's also a skill.
Yes, that's good. That's what we hoped for.
Yeah, it's definitely it's not an easy skill or not an easy line to navigate. So we love when that pulls together, when it's all part of the plan. There are a lot of gifts I wish I could use in this right now because there's a lot of relevant gifts that I have in my head. But unfortunately this is audio and not visual, so you guys will just have to imagine. So but let's see. What do we got? We got a little bit left on your little sheet. I think we're almost there, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're on Lucas Browning still, where some of the fun stuff that happens to him while he's in the Redoubt of Sundering and being processed is that UNSC survivors are being assessed by a human inspector who appears to be in charge to some degree of this banished facility. And obviously, having banished humans is one of the kind of major differentiating factors that their factions got compared to the Covenant. And, you know, Kelly just really sells that as a chilling and horrifying moment to see one of your own kind, you know, putting you through this awful prison and torture system that the Banished got set up.
And yeah, no, for sure. I'm just catching up on your notes here too. So it's actually a really good pivot point, and kind of we can start wrapping up. I know this one was short, y'all, but we've had a long week. I think we're all still recovering a little bit from Worlds and stuff, but we can probably take a couple questions from chat. So Eternal Canadian, be picky, be selective with your questions, and make them reasonable. But we have some stuff coming up next, and if you liked Lucas Browning, you may be very interested in what's coming next, right?
Yes, in just over a month from now, Halo Edge of Dawn will be releasing, and that's also being written by Kelly Gay. And that is a story which, in many ways, is like it's a sequel to and epilogue to both the Rubicon Protocol and Halo Infinite, right? It's kind of the first strike type story, where we pick up with the chief and the pilot, Fernando Esparza, and the weapon, or should I say, Joyeuse, as we kind of examine the aftermath of everything that's happened in this span of time. So that's going to be really exciting. And obviously we announced at Halo WC that Steve Downs, Jen Taylor,
Nicholas Roy will be there, as well as
Nicholas Roy and Deborah Wilson are going to be doing the narration for the audiobook. So if you're an audiobook listener, then that's going to be a great experience. If you're not an audiobook listener, make this one that you get, because it's going to be really special.
How often do audiobooks get cast members, like video game voice actors, to do this, right? How often? I feel like it's not a super common thing.
Yeah, I mean, it was a standout moment when we did Epitaph, right? And we managed to get Keith Sarabica to do the entire audiobook as the didact.
I actually just saw a comment about that one, and somebody was like, this is the best audiobook I've ever heard. If they've got more voice actors doing it, I instant buy on Edge of Dawn.
That was such a lightning in the bottle moment of, oh my goodness, this brings it all together. Because we were very particular when we were putting that story together that this is the didact story. It's told entirely from his perspective.
But also his last name, writing it out, there's not nearly enough vowels.
Yes, indeed. So having Keith actually read that was so special. And I remember a few Halo WCs back, that was when we actually managed to announce that to everyone that was happening, when Keith did a special video to say that was going on. So yeah, you get a similar kind of experience with this, where hearing it in the characters' voices just lends that additional kind of that pathos, that feeling of authenticity is the wrong word, but that, you know, true to the experience of hearing the Master Chief, hearing Joyeuse, Dr. Halsey, Cortana, the pilot, and all that. It's going to be great.
I mean, it kind of helps set it in universe or set the tone, right? It's one thing to have just a voice actor read it to you or whatever, but it's another thing when it's a Master Chief line and it is actually Steve Downes reading it in Master Chief's voice. I think that really absolutely helps get you in that right mindset, that right frame of mind of like, oh yeah, this is actually a Master Chief, and there is other stuff happening, and then of course we have the weapon or joyeuse. I don't have it in me to pronounce it the English way. So unfortunately or fortunately, depending how you look at it, but she will always be joyeuse to me. So
I'm sure that Cortana is Kurtana to plenty of people out there as well.
I actually did see, reading obviously social, catching up on everything after all of our announcements. I did see some discussion about Cortana, which was it was just a fun little interaction. Somebody just said juice. It was nice knowing you, Jumper Scape. Austin, Godspeed.
Not coming on our panel anymore.
Will she go by Joy sometimes? I don't have an answer to that.
Yes.
She does. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
There you go. There's your answer.
If you're nice to her.
All right. So let's see. Okay, we got a couple questions in chat. Let's see what we got. Was the unnamed person Browning spoke to in the cell Spartan Griffin? Oh.
It was. Yeah, I can confirm that one straight up. Yeah, we kept that obscure, obviously, in the story because it's from Browning's point of view, so he doesn't know, he doesn't learn who that is, but that was indeed Spartan Griffin.
Fun fact, posting a picture of Spartan Griffin on the Xbox Club got the Halo account banned from Xbox for a bit. That was fantastic. And again, I'm just reading these out loud because they are in chat. We may or may not get an answer.
I mean, what have they got against Spartan Griffin, right?
Right? I was like, why can't I post? Turned banned. Was the passive camo in Shadows of Reach a derivative or adaptation of SPI systems? And is this camo mentioned in Rubicon used by all the Spartans in the novel, or is it something different? That's a good question.
That sure sounds like an eternal Canadian question to me.
It sure does. That sounded like I'm not going to answer that answer from Alex. So, I like that. Is there a favorite moment that you have in the book that was a surprise when you first read it?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm trying to think. I think the surprise moment for me really was just how closely we were trying to align this with the game world. We'd never really done that before in any other book. So that was something that was brand new, and it was a different process because obviously this book was made somewhat in parallel with Infinite, certainly in the latter end of its development. So if something changed in the campaign map, it would probably have to change in the book as well. So it was very different to kind of come into that as a first-time experience because it was so different.
I have to imagine that's also pretty, hard to align, to make everything align like that. So super well done, super skillful, like both on the writing and on the editing side to make sure that everything is just picture perfect.
Yeah, it was great fun.
All right. And does anybody else have any other questions? Anything coming up? Because if not, what came first, the audio logs or the book? Oh, that's a good question. I feel
that is a good question. I believe it was the audio logs that came first.
That was my gut response as well, but then I was like, ooh, maybe not. So my gut says it was the audio logs, personally.
Yeah.
Okay, I got a couple more questions. Is the MA5K in the book mentioned the regular one, or is it retroactively an Avenger? Yeah.
It's an MA5K in it.
All right, there's your answer. Duncan would like to know if you will sign his copy of Rubicon Protocol.
I will. I'll do that as soon as I head out there next year.
All right. Yeah, we're going to have a whole stack of things for you to autograph for us. Maybe we can give away a signed copy of your Waypoint Chronicles next year. So All right. I think that brings us to the end. So let's recap some of the stuff we got coming up for lore and books and everything. We've already touched on Halo Edge of Dawn by Kelly Gay is coming out December 16th, 2025, right? Next month.
Yes, indeed.
And that's functionally a follow-on story here. So you'll get to follow along with Lucas Browning and see what happens and just kind of epilogue Halo Infinite, cap off Infinite, and maybe not cap off is the right word, but it follows the events. So we got that. Will close out that. We have, I already touched on it. You have your Waypoint Chronicle. What are we calling that?
Halo Waypoint Chronicles Volume 1, releasing next year, yes. We were informed that this is going to be a sizable book because it includes all 24 Waypoint Chronicles that we've done thus far, along with all of the intel that we released in Halo Infinite, and the Armory Infinitum, like micro-stories that we've done in Canon Fodder.
Have there really been 24?
There have. We were informed that this is going to be over 600 pages long. So if you like your Halo books chunky, you're going to have a good time with this one.
Duncan says it's a tomb, which maybe not something grave, something. Tomb. Yeah. Something. Welcome to. No. Okay. Pun's gone. I'm actually looking forward to that. I think I cannot believe that there were 24, but also Volume 1 implies that there's more coming, which I'm very excited for.
Yes, indeed.
You've hardly read any collection. Wow. Elliot is in for a treat. Elliot is not going to sleep for like 3 days while he powers through it all. Is it going to have the images too? Is it going to have the pictures?
No, it doesn't. I don't believe it has the images in, but we do have 10 additional Waypoint Chronicles in there, which is a lot. And they will vary in length, Some will be shorter. One, I can say, is 10,000 words long, which is pretty sizable.
Is it just your History of Halo blog in Waypoint Chronicle form? All right. No, I know, Duncan. I know the word. I was being funny because it sounds similar. All right. Are the upcoming Chronicles going to be released as previous ones have been, or is this a format change? I mean... Question for later, all right. Eric Ibu would like you to write one without the letter E, so... take that into account. I guess you can never mention Halsey. You can never mention Chief. You can never mention Fred, Kelly. So good luck. That is all you.
All right. Challenge accepted.
That would be pretty funny. I wonder if anybody would even notice. So, all right. I think we can go ahead and wrap things up. This has been a lot of fun. I think... no, you put an E in Halsey, Kenny. No, too late. I saw it. But yeah, I think this is probably going to be our last Spartan Chatter for the year because it is already November. And I think we've got holidays coming up. We're wrapping up stuff as we look forward to like the rest of the year, just making sure we get everything ready. But I think we should look forward to maybe doing something next year. Maybe we do something for Edge of Dawn or something like that, just for funsies. Because I don't know about you, Alex, but I've had fun. I've had a lot of fun with these.
It's been a great trip down memory lane for some of the older books, and even like the ones that I think of as recent, like New Blood, were actually over 10 years ago, which is just insane to me.
Stop. The fact that it's all so old is insane. I don't understand where time went. Time has no meaning anymore. So... please try and do more of these for the older books. Could we get some of the authors into Spark? I actually think we did try at one point. Like there was talk about trying to get somebody in, and I think logistically it just wasn't working because there was a lot going on. But definitely food for thought. Maybe with Edge of Dawn we can see. We'll see what's going on.
Shout out to Chloe Bear for joining us on the Krypton episode. That was fantastic. It was great to have her on here and to get some of her insights into the writing of the Forerunner saga.
Just imagine being like, "Hey, yeah, my dad's Greg Bear," right? Like what? I would never become a writer. There is no way. There is no way because those shoes are too big to try to fill.
You're in fine company at the very least.
That's true. All right, y'all. I'm going to go ahead and call this the end of the Simon & Schuster Spartan Chatter program for now. But not saying never. Don't know what the future holds. But Simon & Schuster have been amazing partners with us, and we've had so much fun doing this. So we're always down to do more. And yeah, I hope everybody has a great holiday season as we head into November. What? How did that happen? And then at the very least, we'll see you in the next one.